Hey, do you ever think about the condition of your heart or the condition of the hearts of those people around you when you see people's behavior or your own behavior and you think about your little girl? What's her heart posture? Or what's the status of the condition of her heart?
Welcome to Stacy Speaks Hope, the podcast that explores the lies that have kept your little girl bound. We trust the truth of God's word to offset the lies. I'm your host, Dr. Stacy.
In today's episode, I'd like to talk to you about something that became apparent to me as I was observing people and thinking about the actions, the reactions, the behavior, all go back to our heart. If we are open and loving, is it because our heart is mended or mending, that healed state that we're striving for our little girl to get to? We know when our hearts are broken, we're shielded. We put up walls. We don't want to talk to people. We don't want to let people come in. Because the pain of being hurt, the mistrust that comes by trusting people who let us down, affects the way we see everything around us. And the behaviors that repel, that resist new things, even new food, new relationships, all tie back to having compassion for the condition of our heart. Some of the things we see spill out of the cracks in our hearts, the brokenness in our hearts that filter through. And if they're coming through the cracks have come through pain. The cracks have come through places where brokenness has occurred. And how hard that is. It doesn't even matter our age, but it goes back to our little girl. It goes back to when she was open and loving and trusting. And something along the way shifted how she had to experience that, how she had to protect herself. As we go down this healing journey, we can present our hearts to the Lord to say, here's the pieces, here's the puddle of what's left. Here's the open fragments that maybe are even cutting my hands as I present them. To say, I can't do this like this anymore. To say, Lord, I need your help. And as we see others who come back at us that may not have started this journey toward healing and toward wholeness, can we develop, as we're healing, that compassion? Only because we just got a little bit down the road. That's my challenge, my request, my consideration to offer you. Because since the healing is a journey, can we look back enough, not too far, not to dwell in the past, not to dredge up all the old hurt and pain, but look back enough to see when someone hasn't quite gotten there, to respond to them in a way that disrupts that. I got to fight for everything. I got to stand up when nobody's even being in opposition. And to show them that that guard that they have up can be let down. As we do that for ourselves, as we have stepped through one day at a time, bits of the healing process and the revelation that comes for new areas that we didn't know were broken. I offer this as we continue to go through our healing journey, as we say, what did my little girl's influence have on what I just did, what I just said? how I just reacted, how I perceive the way that person spoke to me, whether I stand in offense and offended, or can I say, that really wasn't about me? That was about that person. Then it's not personal and there's no reason to carry anger, hurt, frustration, even disappointment. It doesn't mean we like that things didn't go the way we wanted them to, or the way somebody spoke to us, or acknowledged us, or didn't acknowledge us, or just any of the things that tend to make us offended. When somebody cuts you off on the road, it's not about you, it's about them being more focused on where they're going than anyone around them, and the danger that that does display, because they can hurt you, cause an accident, damage your vehicle, hurt your, even to the point of taking you out. But it's never been because they said, I'm going to run into that car and cause an accident. That's where our own strength comes, and our as our growth comes. And as we let the Lord look at the inside, the word says, the world looks at the outside, but God looks at the heart. As we can develop the mind of Christ and ask Him to let us see through His eyes the world around us, the people around us, people that we're close to who have hurt us, people that are distant from us that we don't want nothing to do with, even if we don't engage in relationships that were toxic because of the brokenness of the person and ourselves, maybe at the time, because how did we connect in the first place? I had to look at myself and remind myself of that what was my part in it? My brokenness was open to being in connection with somebody else who was broken, having that be the connection. But as I walked in healing, as I took steps toward healing, I could look back and say, well, everything they did wasn't all toward me, all to hurt me, all to discourage me, to disappoint me, to even sabotage me. I had to ask God to continue to teach me and show me to see through His eyes the way He saw me. Now, obviously, it takes a lot of work. Obviously, it's not easy. But the journey toward healing is to recognize those things, because a lot of what we carry as we pile on the lies and the false beliefs that started as a little girl, now we've built up new narratives, new strategies, new ways, self-defense mechanisms that we use to fight back what might happen. That possibly didn't even happen yet, but we're going to make sure it doesn't. But we carry that and it becomes a weight and a burden. I saw an analogy in a message before where it was like carrying a bag of rocks, multiple bags of rocks. And as we are able to release those angry responses, those self-defense ways, those protective strategies that may or may not be necessary, and they certainly don't need to be necessary in our own ability, we can lift the weight and release, take the rocks out of the bag, take the rocks one at a time, and lighten the load that we carry. We see the manifestation of carrying those kinds of loads in our physical bodies, in our health, whether it's high blood pressure, whether it's heart disease. Our broken hearts show up in health or dis-ease. So I encourage you today, if you're healthy, to stay, how to stay that way. If you're not healthy, maybe healing is tied to some of that shedding, some of that letting go, some of that really asking God to show you the posture and the wholeness or the brokenness in your heart, the things that are tucked away. I get this vision of my heart with cabinets and closets, and you know how you stuff things away. When the smaller place you live in, the more places you can find to stuff things, because you don't want to get rid of everything. I open my closet that's next to me, it's packed. with just little nooks and crannies of things that I don't need to get rid of per se, or want to get rid of. I'll be more accurate because I might need them or their memorabilia. And the more our hearts become like that, we hang on to this memory, we hang on to this belief, we hang on to this strategy of when I did that, it didn't go so well. So I'm going to make sure I keep this little piece of the wall up so it doesn't happen to me again. So I don't feel that hurt, that disappointment, that sense of rejection, that self doubt. Our confidence and our health and our minds and our bodies are weighed down in this fight, fight, fight mode. When if we just were able to look at and see everybody just figuring it out, just like we are, and the things we do that aren't always the best as we interact with other people, we can have a little more compassion. We can have a little bit more grace. We can even give ourselves more grace if we spend less time in that critical, judgmental attack mode toward other people. Because if we're that way externally, how can we possibly look ourselves in the mirror and say, I love you, you're okay, I give you grace, I give you patience and compassion? And sometimes we can give it to other people and we can't give it to ourselves. That's another part of a lie that's made into truth, another part of our heartbrokenness. Let our hearts be healed and mended as we surrender each little piece to be put back together by the Creator who made it in the first place. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. And by knowing that, we don't have to be in this constant mode of seeing what other people did wrong, of checking to see if they're going to do something wrong, checking did they do something wrong. It's a whole life of being on the offense, and being defensive. And what if there's nothing coming at us in the way that we're looking because we're conditioning our minds, our hearts to be unreceptive, untrusting, unyielding? That maybe there's just another way things are done, another way things are said. We've taken away all curiosity, no benefit of the doubt. I'm sure no one says, I don't want anybody to give me the benefit of the doubt. If we can think of how can I give others what I want to be given to myself, at least a chance to state my position, at least a chance to explain why I did what I did. And even if it was incorrect in the long run, if the intention of the heart was not malicious, and you give people a chance to express that, that's where we come into safety and wholeness, our emotional intelligence, to be aware of ourselves and then be aware of those that we're in relationship with and surrounding relationships with, in situational relationships, the situational awareness. It takes away so much pressure on who we are, how we show up, and really what we are called to do for others. How can you take care of anybody else? How can you minister to anybody else? And just even a day to day interaction, ministering to somebody by telling them you see them doing a good job or you're proud of them, or just how are they doing? Maybe they're having a bad day and nobody even asked how they were doing. And all they wanted was somebody to just notice. You can be that person when you are able to take away all focus being on the brokenness of your heart, the fear that's tied to the broken heart. When I walked around in a brokenhearted state, I always was just scowling and looking for what could go wrong. And I also accepted the least for myself that just compounded and built upon the low self-esteem, the not asking for what I wanted, not being able to speak up. And the other part about a healed heart is you can ask for what you want as just a statement without any attitude, without any malice towards someone else because they didn't do it. Maybe they just didn't know. Maybe you just needed to say, I don't like it this way. I like it that way. Do you want mayonnaise on your sandwich or not? You say no. And it's not a thing toward that person. And you don't have to say it in anger. That's where our healing starts to show in the little things that I can say what I need to say to you out of just a integrous heart where it's not an attack. It's not it doesn't cause people to respond in a self-defensive manner. It's not a battle. It's just a statement. What weight that lifts off of our being. It takes the distraction off of being able to hear from God. If we're always having these thoughts, just yak, 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 yakking in our ears about, did this person look at me funny? Are they talking about me? Are they laughing at me? And people are probably not even in that space. You can feel when people look at you kind of funny, but whose problem is that? Is it yours or is it theirs? As women, especially, we get caught up in those things. And it takes a lot of energy and it saps our spirit from hearing and being connected to God. It keeps us from being able to see what there's that person over there who maybe we could just go talk to and be a blessing to. To just be able to hear, it takes a toll on us physically. The conditions that women are having more heart attacks than anybody else now. 1 in 8 women get breast cancer. To me, I think that's by our heart. Is there a connection to the condition of our heart and our health? I'm convinced there is a connection of some sort. And I challenge you to take a moment to step back and say, what is the condition of my heart in the sight of God? How can we ask Him to show us if we're always in our fight or flight mode? We're either running to, running from, running around to be distracted from looking at what we really just know, what we feel. That's why I encourage journaling. My workbook is full of places to write out just what you feel, what comes up as you look at the things that have happened in your life and how you have connected those dots to respond to them. So it's so important to really give ourselves that time, that space to slow down, to listen to the voice of God, to pray and ask for answers. So God doesn't have to get us still. A lot of times the health stuff ends up with people being on their backs, incapacitated. We don't want to have to wait till that point. We don't want to wait until we are just so worn out, so exhausted, so sick that the condition of our heart has taken over our mind, it's taken over our thoughts, it's taken over our vision, it's stolen our dreams, it's stolen those gifts that God has put inside of us because we've stuffed them down because we're so busy fighting to bring up the things that brought us joy, that are our gifts and our talents, whether it's art, whether it's music, whether it's dancing, whether it's writing, the artistry and the creativity that is reflective of the creator of the universe. He put those things in us and they get stolen. They get stolen early in life and they're get stolen through systemic processes like schools that the first thing they cut these days is art and music. Those level the playing field to just possibly expose people to a place of joy. If we can get back to those, they have adult coloring books now because coloring was such a relaxing thing to do as a child. Now, as an adult, draw, color, doodle, paint. They have those paint parties, making crafts, because that's an outlet that's been stolen from our day to day existence by just the hustle and bustle, thinking we always have to keep doing something. We have an opportunity and can utilize it as an outlet to healing, an onset to take away some of the heaviness and to ease the stress that leads to illness mentally, physically, emotionally, and most of all, spiritually. We have to remember to go back to the first things we learned to do as children was to play. If we were blessed to have a childhood, I never want to act like everybody got to play because I know there's people who say, I never was a kid, that they had responsibilities from very, very early on. Your heart wants that. If you didn't get it the first time, give yourself the opportunity to do it as an adult who's walking in healing. What that will do for your soul, what that will do to bless you and to encourage you, goes beyond anything you could ever imagine. The behaviors that we show up with are reflective of the posture and the condition of our hearts. How important is it to mend our broken hearts by giving it to God and to doing loving and caring, compassionate things for ourselves so we can do the same for others? There's an inevitability of this cycle of compassion that we can live in that will change the way we face the world every day with so many things that are uncertain. Our human interactions, our human contact, that we're still going to come in contact with people and create those safe spaces, create those communities, this healing journey that we're on. I would love to offer a space that we can do this in community. As you like the things that I'm saying on these videos, those are things that let me know this community is listening. This community needs to hear more of this, and this community doesn't just need to hear my voice. As I'm wrapping up this season, I want to talk to people. I want to interview people. If you're interested in being interviewed, put a comment in the chat or message me at Stacy Speaks Hope on Instagram. DM me. If you're interested in sharing your story of your little girl or even ask questions, put some questions in the comment if you want me to respond to them, to make this interactive, to make this your own journey, to personalize it. God has placed an opportunity before us collectively to come together, to love on each other, to understand each other, to have that compassion that I'm talking about with each other, to console each other through the space of when you look in someone's eyes and you know that inside she might look all put together, but on the outside, she looks one way. And on the inside, like God sees the heart, we can see each other's hearts of the little girl who was broken and crying, that has us be a little bit more defensive and off putting, if you will, definitely unopen to interact with people because it wasn't safe. There's no judgment. We won't be in judgment of each other because we have an understanding And we can love that part of her that needs to know it's okay, little girl. It's okay. You're safe now. So as you hear and see and experience things that are relevant and applicable in your life, I encourage you to take this time and let's grow together in community. Let's build each other up. Let's extend that compassion from people who know. Everybody might not have the same experience. Everybody might not get it. But if we can do that for each other, that's all we can hope for. This small little slice, this safe little space that we'll build to grow toward the healing, to be all that God has called us to be. I look forward to continuing this journey with you. Please subscribe and share because you probably know other people who feel the same way. I'm so honored to have this time with you. And I just want you to be blessed. Thank you for watching Stacy Speaks Hope. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. To schedule a free coaching call, the link is in the description.
Wrong woman, holding in story she needs to tell what God really wants you to do in this world. In His name, hope to break free from the shackles and the lies that have become your truth and put blinders on your eyes. You built walls around your heart. You have plugged up your ears. Get freedom to hope's what you need. It's in reach. Wipe your tears.